The Sultan controlled 3 continents. His empire stretched from the borders of China to the gates of Egypt. 50 years later, his heirs were slaughtering each other over the ruins. This is how nomads conquered the medieval world and then destroyed everything they built. In the year 1037, something impossible happened. A tribe of illiterate horse warriors from the Central Asian steppes defeated the Ghaznavid Empire, one of the most powerful states on earth. These were the Turks, and their leaders were the Seljuk family. They had no cities, no written language, no experience ruling anything larger than a clan. But they had something their enemies lacked, a hunger that could not be satisfied. Within 50 years, they would control more territory than Rome at its height. But here is the question nobody asks. How did people who had never even seen a palace learn to rule an empire? And more importantly, why did that empire shatter so completely that most people today have never heard of it? The Seljuks understood something fundamental about conquest. Speed was everything. Under their leader Tughril Beg, they swept through Persia like a wildfire. City after city fell. By 1055, Tughril rode into Baghdad itself. But here is where their genius showed. They did not destroy the Abbasid Caliphate. They became its protectors. The Caliph granted Tughril the title of Sultan, meaning power, or authority. It was a masterstroke. Suddenly, these former nomads were not invaders. They were the legitimate defenders of Sunni Islam. If you are learning something new, that like button helps the algorithm share this with more history lovers. But the true architect of Seljuk greatness was still coming. And his ambition would stretch the empire to its absolute limits. Now let me put this in perspective. Alp Arslan became Sultan in 1063, and he immediately set his sights on the greatest prize in the medieval world. The Byzantine Empire. For centuries, Constantinople had been unconquerable. Its armies had crushed every nomadic threat from the steppes. But in 1071, everything changed. At the Battle of Manzikert, Alp Arslan did what no one believed possible. He captured the Byzantine Emperor Romanos IV alive on the battlefield. Think about that. The ruler of the most sophisticated Christian empire in the world, dragged before a Turkish sultan in chains. This single battle opened Anatolia, modern Turkey, to permanent Turkish settlement. The shockwaves would eventually trigger the Crusades. But Alp Arslan would not live to see it. Under Alp Arslan's son, Malik Shah, the Seljuk Empire reached its absolute zenith. From the borders of China to the Mediterranean Sea. From the Caucasus Mountains to the Arabian Peninsula. This was an empire of nearly 4 million square kilometers. The Seljuks built magnificent mosques and madrasas. They patronized scholars and poets. The Persian language flourished under their rule. Their vizier, Nizam al-Mulk, wrote one of the most influential treatises on government in Islamic history. And this is where I need you to pay attention. Because everything Nizam al-Mulk warned against was about to happen. He knew the empire's greatest weakness was succession. Turkish tradition demanded that all sons of a ruler had equal claim to power. There was no primogeniture. No clear line of inheritance. But here is where the story takes its darkest turn. In 1092, an assassin's blade found Nizam al-Mulk. 35 days later, Malik Shah himself was dead, possibly poisoned. And what happened next? Exactly what the old vizier had predicted. The empire exploded. 4 of Malik Shah's sons each declared themselves the true sultan. Brothers turned against brothers. Uncles against nephews. The unified Seljuk state shattered into a dozen warring fragments. If you want to see how this chaos reshaped the entire medieval world, make sure you are subscribed. There was the Sultanate of Rum in Anatolia. The great Seljuk remnants in Persia. Independent Atabegs carving out their own kingdoms in Syria and Iraq. The empire that had terrified 3 continents was now at war with itself. And this is where everything you think you know about the Crusades changes. When Pope Urban II called for the First Crusade in 1095, he was not attacking a unified Islamic superpower. He was attacking a fractured mess of warring Seljuk successor states too busy fighting each other to coordinate a defense. The Crusaders exploited this brilliantly. Jerusalem fell in 1099 precisely because no single Muslim power could mount a unified response. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Did you know the Crusade succeeded partly because of Seljuk civil wars? But wait. There is one more twist to this story. Because while most Seljuk successor states burned themselves out in endless warfare, one branch survived. And it would transform into something nobody expected. The Sultanate of Rum, centered in Anatolia, outlasted all its siblings. While the great Seljuk line extinguished itself in Persia by 1194, the Anatolian branch adapted and survived. They built stunning architecture that still stands today in Konya and other Turkish cities. They created a unique fusion of Persian, Turkish, and Byzantine culture. And here is the revelation that ties everything together. When the Sultanate of Rum finally collapsed in the early 1300s, one of its successor states was led by a minor warlord named Osman. His descendants would build the Ottoman Empire. That is right. The Ottoman dynasty that would eventually conquer Constantinople itself emerged directly from the ashes of Seljuk collapse. The NOMADS empire died, but it gave birth to an even greater one. The Seljuk story is ultimately about the paradox of nomadic empire. The very qualities that made these horse warriors unstoppable conquerors, their mobility, their warrior culture, their tradition of dividing power among sons, also made stable succession impossible. They conquered 3 continents but could not conquer themselves. Nizam al-Mulk saw it coming. He wrote that an empire without clear succession rules was an empire waiting to die. He was right. But from that death came transformation. The Turks who had thundered out of Central Asia did not disappear. They became the Ottomans, the Mongols, countless dynasties across the Islamic world. Empires are never truly destroyed. They are transformed. And the Seljuks transformed everything they touched forever. Now you understand how nomads from the steppes built an empire across 3 continents and why it shattered into dust. The Seljuks remind us that conquest is easy but governance is hard. Which forgotten empire should we explore next?